Yo, boxing aficionados. What's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. Wow. Big night for boxing, right? So, I'm just going to jump into it and get to the point. Because to me, what this really proves, this Bivol victory over Canelo really proves, is how little validity us as boxing fans should give boxing pundits. You understand? Boxing pundits, boxing writers, the bigger names of boxing reporting, the so-called experts and all that. They're just fans. They don't know any more about boxing than any regular Joe. I don't care who it is. Okay? And then the thing about it is that most of them play this slick game, because what they're reporting now in the Bivol victory, right, is that it's an upset, right? That it was an upset, right? 99% of the time when boxing writers call something an upset, it's really that they're covering their tracks, because the results didn't fit their narrative prior to the fight, right? For example, Bivol got dismissed as an opponent. Somehow, Bivol, with his extensive amateur background and really, what is that? I don't know how many fights he had. I think he has less than 20 fights. With his extensive amateur background, with his in-prime years, right? Because he's a fighter who's in his prime. He's not over-the-hill Kovalev. He's a guy who's shown the ability to do exactly what he did last night. Bivol has shown the ability to do exactly what he did last night. And if you look at Bivol's dimensions and his ability to stay on the balls of his feet, move in and out, and box against fighters like Joe, with power like Joe Smith, right? So you know that he took a Joe Smith punch. It was almost knocked out, but was able to put it all together and then finish the fight strong. So you know he did that, right? And he outboxed Joe Smith thoroughly. Joe Smith, who is a current champion at 175 pounds, who himself ended Bernard Hopkins' career, shocked the world against Fonfara, came up the hard way and took on Eleider Alvarez and knocked his ass out, a guy that he was supposed to lose to, right? Eleider Alvarez was supposed to win that fight, Joe Smith. But he thoroughly dismantled Joe Smith, right? Bivol, right? But somehow he gets dismissed as a credible opponent for Canelo Alvarez, because these boxing pundits, boxing writers preferred to see him fight David Benavidez. So David Benavidez was beating absolutely nobody. I'm going to repeat this again. David Benavidez, who's beaten absolutely nobody and is about to fight David Lemieux, right? He was automatically given, credibility, status as a credible opponent for Canelo fighting. Canelo was somehow ducking him by fighting Bivol. David Benavidez, who his damn self must be on a strict ass diet, because his ass belongs at 175, but he doesn't want to party with them people. David Benavidez does not want to party with those people at 175. He don't want a part of that action up there. He knows who the fuck he is, right? But that guy you give credibility to. Meanwhile, you dismiss David Bivol. What is his name? Bivol? Whatever. Dimitri Bivol, sorry. And I see this continuously happen in reporting and from these boxing pundits and writers and I think to myself, like, this is what's the problem with boxing. Because why would boxing writers diminish the quality of that event? Because that's what they did. By diminishing Dimitri Bivol, right? Ostensibly discrediting Dimitri Bivol, they diminish the validity of the event. It's like, oh, Canelo's just buying. He's fighting some Euro bum. No, they didn't talk about Dimitri Bivol the way they should have talked about Dimitri Bivol, right? Some of it is Dimitri Bivol's fault because he hasn't exactly been stopping people, and he's a boxer puncher, right? So I'm not gonna put it all on boxing critics and writers and pundits at large. So yes, I'm not too thrilled about Bivol, but discerning eyes will tell you, like, yo, this dude is young, this dude boxes, what he has on his resume, his extensive boxing background, he's in prime. I'm not gonna dismiss him as an opponent for Canelo. I'm gonna give Canelo credit for taking that fight. What I'm trying to say is that this was no damn upset. Why? So, which is what they're portraying now, because it's easier to now portray Dimitri Bivol as having performed above and beyond expectations. It's easier to portray him as going above and beyond his, capabilities, and like a Cinderella man, rather than say, Dimitri Bivol is a bad mother, and I didn't see it. Right? To admit that you're just a fanboy, and your credibility as a writer, as a pundit, as an expert in the sport shouldn't be taken, should be taken with a grain of salt, because in the end, you really don't know more than anybody else. So they need to portray this fight as, or this result, this victory of Dimitri Bivol as this, this upset, this Cinderella performance. Well, what we saw was a machine at work. We saw Dimitri Bivol do exactly what he does. He didn't do nothing different, right? That's how he fights. Dimitri Bivol fought the way he fights. In and out, fencing style, jab out there. And we already saw Canelo have problems with Kovalev. Kovalev outboxed him. Old ass Kovalev, right? Outboxed Canelo. What happened to Kovalev is that, A, he's an alcoholic. So he's going to be susceptible to body shots, right? Because alcoholics, the liver, that alcohol does something to your body. That's why old school fighters in the 50s, you don't drink. Floyd Mayweather did not drink alcohol. He didn't abuse his body. Kovalev abuses his body. Andre Ward already opened the book on Kovalev. He didn't like it to the body. Right? Plus, Kovalev was coming off, what, a six-week training camp after fighting a hard-ass fight against Anthony Yarde, right? This was Kovalev's run. Getting knocked out by Eleider Alvarez, coming back to beat Eleider Alvarez in a tough fight, to then go through Yarde, to then get 6 weeks of... what was it, like 6 weeks to fucking fight Canelo? That's what killed Kovalev against Canelo. And even in that circumstance, Kovalev and Buddy McGirt were able to put together a game plan that worked against Canelo using Kovalev's physical dimensions. Because at the end of the day, size matters and weight classes matter. So now you got Bivol, a guy who by all discernible metrics is not an abuser of alcohol, not a guy who gets in trouble, a guy who basically was rated ahead of Kovalev in the Russian amateur system. It was better Bivol than Kovalev, I believe it was, right? So has this extensive background. He's a clean liver, a clean living, fighting, sporting boxer, pugilist, right? A devout pugilist. But he gets dismissed as an incredible opponent against Canelo. So now how you cover up those tracks when he wins, right? Oh, it was an upset. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't no upset. It was what it was. Give Canelo credit for taking that fight. It's easier to call it an upset than giving Canelo credit for, Canelo, even though he was Canelo dared to be great. He really did. And I am not a Canelo fan. I'm not. Canelo's not a horse that I pick in any race. I watch a Canelo fight with no rooting interest. I don't really care about Canelo. I just don't. But I can give credit where credit is due. At the end of the day, he lost at 175. He didn't lose at 168. At the end of the day, he lost at 175 to a great fighter at a higher weight class. Canelo is a shrimp. Canelo is a munchkin. All this talk about him fighting Usyk and all this craziness, people be dissing, oh, he's a casual, you're a casual, and this is a casual, and casual fans, but all these hardcore boxing fans talking about him fighting fucking Usyk and giving him a chance, is that supposed to be some kind of fight? Are you fucking kidding me? You just delusional fanboys like everybody else. Different. Better. You're not any more intelligent. You're full of shit. So again, it's a lot easier to cover up your tracks by calling this some big upset, because now you don't have to feel stupid. Now you could just give credit to Dimitri as, having gone beyond, above and beyond, rather than doing exactly what he can do. He did. That's him. That's how he fights. It's all this craziness, man. Man, it's crazy, man. And then what really, really, really raises my ire is that when Caleb Plant was fighting a guy whose best win was Jose Uzcategui, right? Then Fagenbuch, right? Who went 12 rounds with Caleb Truax. That guy was was oh, like, oh yeah, Caleb, you know, because he's a boxer, he can do this, and Caleb Plant, and yeah, he can based on fucking nothing. He was based on nothing. And Caleb Plant had the same physical dimensions, had the same physical, the same advantages in physical dimensions as Dimitri Bivol. Perhaps he's a little smaller, I'm not sure, but he's definitely bigger than Canelo. He definitely had the length, reach. He's supposed to be a boxer and slick and doing all this. Well, what happened to him? Because he fought nobody. And at the end of the day, you know, the caliber fighter that he is showed up in the ring against the caliber fighter that Canelo is. And Canelo knocked his ass out. Took a couple of punches, took a little round, but in the end touched him up to the body and got him up out of there. Because Caleb Plant was never supposed to be in the ring with a Canelo Alvarez. But you gave that guy some credibility. You gave that fight some, you know, oh, we got to tune in. That's paper. This, come on, man. Stop it, man. Stop listening to these boxing experts. Stop listening to these Mannixes and Idicks and make up your own mind. Be discerning about what you're seeing. If you think you know boxing, then make up your own mind. Follow your inner voice and be discerning about what you're seeing, man. You know, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Caleb Plant fight didn't even buy. I knew what was going to happen. Those who saw my tweets and saw the videos, you could see on the same channel how I predicted that fight. At the end of the freaking, I said he's going to be crumpled by a body shot. We knew what he was going to do. Caleb Plant never, I mean, yeah, Caleb, what is it? Caleb Plant? Yeah, I don't even fucking know. Caleb Plant. He never belonged in the ring with Canelo, but these writers never wrote about him like that. But they wrote about Bivol like that. Dismissed Bivol's chances like that. And now they want to come back on some, oh, this was an upset. No, it wasn't. It's not an upset. Okay? Give Canelo his credit for daring to be great, because he didn't really need to be. He doesn't need 175. But he wants, you know, these other belts and move up and things like that, and he wants challenges. Stop criticizing him for not fighting the fight against those low-level opponents you want him to see. Charlo, Plant, or what Plant he already fought, but Charlo, Benavidez. Let them boys do what they got to do to earn a shot at a payday against Canelo. Meanwhile, give credit to the opponents he does pick, because they are credible opponents. He is challenging himself. He's doing what them other boys wouldn't. Benavidez belongs at 175. Benavidez belongs at 175. Just like Mikey Garcia belonged at 135 when Crawford was at 135. And then he belonged at 140 when Crawford was at 140. He never moved up until Crawford moved up, bro. These are fighters that get on strict diets so they won't have to be challenged, so they won't have to be cajoled into fighting against really elite fighters. But they can have their names associated with them. Like, oh, we just missed each other. Like, yeah, you know, I know that fight doesn't make sense right now. You know, we just missed it. He's not in my weight class. Come on, man. It's a damn game. And you fools out there that read these writers and follow them, man, I feel bad for boxing fans. I really feel bad. The quality of boxing writers and boxing pundits has gone way down. And it's been detrimental to the sport. Because it's because of them we don't talk about great fights that have happened on undercards. We don't talk about fights like that. But we talk all day long about fights we don't get. And boxing's in trouble because we don't get this and that fight. Man, talk about the great fights that are in there. But, you know, I'm digressing from the major point. Dimitri Bivol was not an upset. Forget all that shit. That shit is just noise. That's just noise. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. This is Next Level Boxing Talk, motherfuckers. I'm out.